These all the victims?
We have some distinguished people here joining us today. Jeff Moore from the NAACP. Come on up, Jeff.
Yeah!
NAACP, Silicon Valley, San Jose director. And NAACP has been a huge supporter of us, not just locally, but nationally, sending out action alerts nationally several times, asking chapters to get folks to sign on to the bill. NAACP was one of the first people when we had sent that email out in November of 2006, actually October 2006, saying, what do you think about this idea for a public works project for the Gulf Coast? NAACP was one of the first people to respond to us and said, yes, we will help you. And they organized the very first rally in New Orleans when we had a simultaneous press conference in New Orleans, in Biloxi, and in San Jose announcing the Gulf Coast Civic Works Act and project. So we feel very blessed today to have Reverend Jeff Moore here to say some words about his commitment to this the rebuilding of the Gulf Coast. So, Brother Jeff.
Thank you. It is said, do not believe in anything simply because you've heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they've been handed down by many generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. And we can plainly see that the damage that the Gulf Coast has suffered is something that we need to live up to. If you've ever been down to the Gulf Coast and seen the faces of the people, seen the depression, seen the homelessness, seen the downtrodden, seen the poor, the uneducated, not being taken care of by this country, it is an embarrassment to call us ourselves Americans. Right. We are immediately calling on Nancy Pelosi to sign on to Bill H.R. 2269. We need her to lead us in this charge. We're asking everyone in the great state of California to come out and help support this plague. Have you been there? You have to see New Orleans for yourself. I've been down for Mardi Gras and I've enjoyed the party. And now I've been down and I've seen the depression. I've seen the cries. I've felt it. I've helped rebuild the homes there. The people's homes they've lost the pictures of their parents when the last living pictures of their parents, or you've lost your wedding pictures. You've lost your whole life, washed away, and America sits here 4 years later debating health care. Health care for people in New Orleans who do not have any health care. That's not a debate in America. Our debate is to take care of the poor and take care of the downtrodden, to lift them up. We call on President Obama to live up his words in June of 2007, and we're calling for Nancy Pelosi to please sign as a co-signer on this bill. With your sign on this bill, momentum will take off and it'll be a downhill run. Again, thank everyone for coming, and thank you for your support.
Thanks so much for these words. I want to introduce now James Rucker, who is the director of Color of Change, and to say a couple words about James. Our project, the Gulf Coast Civic Works Project, which has been a campus wing of the larger campaign to pass the Gulf Coast Civic Works Project. As I said, there's 240 or 250 organizations now pushing it. The Color of Change is dear to me because they were one of the first people that really supported us and said, yeah, you should do it. NAACP was one, and Color of Change was another. And they've been with us every step of the way. So I feel deeply in gratitude to Color of Change and to James Rucker. And just behind me is 42,000 petitions that have been gathered by Color of Change, by Trouble the Water. Has anyone seen the video, the movie Trouble the Water? So Trouble the Water gathered over 10,000 petitions for us. James Rucker and the Color of Change team have gathered over 25,000, and the students gathered over 7,000 petitions. We're going to present those 42,000 when we meet with Speaker Pelosi's office today, but really could not have got as far as we have without James Rucker. Say a few words for us.
It's hard for me to think about the Gulf Coast. My family's actually from New Orleans and Baton Rouge, and like so many people, I was really torn up. see what had happened. And really, there was the catastrophe of Katrina itself, of course. The real catastrophe was the failed governmental response. 4 years later, we have Democrats in control of both chambers of Congress, both houses of Congress rather, of the White House. And it was easy a few years ago to rest on the excuse that Republicans were in the way. We couldn't actually do what we needed to do in the Gulf Coast for those political reasons. We don't have that. We still have, of course, issues in Congress, but there's no reason to not see leadership, bold leadership, by those who are leaders and should be leading in each of the houses of Congress. And the reality is, we've got hundreds of thousands of lives. These are hundreds of thousands of Americans who pay taxes, who had a place they called home, and many of them who've lost faith. And we've also got a public that, for some reasons understandable, some not so understandable, has kind of psychologically moved on. But people who've lost everything are still trying to pick up the pieces. They haven't been able to move on. At least that's the case for many of those folks. Today, what we're asking for is we're asking Speaker Pelosi to take some simple steps that she can take to usher this legislation towards passage. This idea is a simple idea. It's a common sense idea, and it's actually also a proven idea. The Gulf Coast Civic Works Act is pretty straightforward. It's about helping everyday folks who actually lost their livelihood, their jobs, their homes in Katrina. Put them at the center of rebuilding. Instead of having a contracting firm that subs the work down 5 levels, someone gets $6 an hour and they get $35 an hour, the idea is to create a thin level of infrastructure where you actually get dollars to flow and you get empowerment to flow to the folks who lost everything in many cases. This idea has been basically the same over the last several years. Because it makes pretty much simple sense. I was naive enough to think, oh, great idea, Scott. Students, they have a loud voice, go up to the Hill, things will move. Got a little understanding of how politics works early on. Now there are over 30 co-sponsors of this bill. There's representation from Democrats, from Republicans, from the Gulf, from elsewhere, and yet we still don't have leadership stepping up. What's wonderful is that the Speaker's office is now actually in a conversation. That's important. But for Speaker Pelosi to actually co-sponsor the bill, to use her position in the House, and to encourage the same from the Senate would mean everything for this bill. It would mean everything for the people of the Gulf. So thank you all for showing up. Scott, thank you, and thank you to the students for fighting this fight for so long. It's wonderful to see you.